Okay guys, Alex Forrest here, vlogging to you on a Sunday morning in Warsaw, Poland, and I'm continuing my series. It's going to be a 12-part series, Golden Nuggets of Dating Knowledge, and in this particular part I'm going to address frame tests, and this will be particularly interesting to older dudes out there because that's obviously a big frame test for girls on the street. So I'm going to give you six little classic typical frame tests you're likely to get from a girl on the street, and rather than be bowled over, you need to ride the frame test and keep moving. Now the first thing to say is I'm going to give you some lines, yeah. And when I first started kind of flirting with the dating game and read Neil Strauss's book and dipped into a David D'Angelo box set that I had exported from the States, spent a lot of money on. Yeah, there was a big issue around lines and whether pickup lines work. And people love to dismiss pickup lines, yeah. But the God's to honest truth, you know, this is the God's to honest truth. Lines work. Don't believe those naysayers who say that, oh yeah, no, just be yourself, be conversational, be confident. The thing is that lines are the training wheels. Remarks, flirtatious comments, even down to the particular order of words. Take, for example, an earlier vlog in the series where I talked about the magical line, "What I noticed about you is." Learn it by heart like you're a little geek in your, maths class at age 15. Get it down. Now, what you will find is once you have mastered these lines, that they'll become absorbed in you, and you will no longer need to be what's the word? I think there's a rather nice description of the stages of progression in terms of acquiring any skill, which is that at first, you're unconsciously incompetent. You then become consciously incompetent, i.e. you've identified as a problem that you need to address. That's already quite a small subsection of dudes, actually. You then go on to be consciously competent, and that means this is the line stage. You are actually, yes, you're knuckling down, you're putting your criticisms about this stuff to one side, you're giving it a go, and you are actually practicing and applying the skills in something of a, at times even robotic way. Now then, the fourth stage, of course, is unconsciously competent, and that's the stage where it's become naturalized, yeah? And it's a magical moment when you discover these lines or variations of them are just naturally bubbling up out of you during the course of a conversation with a girl during the daytime or on dates. The same principles apply. Okay, so that's the roadmap for you, okay, in terms of acquiring daytime approach skills and dating girls. So now you'll know, the question is, where are you on that map? Because actually the skills that you first acquired, the lines that you first learned, whilst they are magical genies that serve you remarkably well when you're starting and when you're intermediate stage, ultimately become a problem. They actually get in the way. Now, a guy who's only done under 500 approaches and let's say only been on 20 dates, he's got a long way to go. Don't be getting all, I'll just be myself in the street type attitude, until you've got a lot further than that. It's not just down to numbers, but that gives you some sort of a guide. And you'll start to realise that you feel a little bit forced, a little bit robotic in the street or on dates, and what at first serves you well, you discard because you've mastered the model. Yeah, you've mastered the model, the principles, and the tools are the stepping stones to get you to mastery in the area of dating and daytime approach. Okay, so the six tips and the six classic frame tests are as follows. Firstly, for the older dudes out there, you'll have met with this, reasonably frequently. As I say, none of these frame tests come up more than, I would say, 25% of all the approaches that you do. If you've made a good, strong approach and you've got a girl talking, then actually there won't be that many frame tests. Maybe it's different in North America than it is in Poland or indeed in London, where I tend to approach girls. So, how old are you? Classic frame test, isn't it? Now, one easy response to that works 7 or 8 times out of 10 is to say, 87. But, I've got a remarkable plastic surgeon down at Harley Street in London, Mr. Plastic Fantastic Me. Anyway, I'm guessing that you are going a bit crazy out in this busy shopping centre with Daddy's credit card. Eh? You've got a couple of large Zara bags there and an Armani. I'm guessing you're a posh girl who's working her way through Daddy's trust fund over Christmas. You then, so you see how once you've passed the test, you then move the conversation forward. Don't get stuck on it. Then another one, of course, is just, you're too old for me. And my favourite response to that is, yeah, actually, now that I've met you and I'm standing here, you do seem like a little bit of a baby. Does Daddy know that you're out in the streets chatting up men when you should be at home doing your homework? Naughty. Anyway, I'm guessing that you are a country girl. You've got a sort of a relaxed and dreamy walk. Whatever. So really, now what I was saying earlier about using these tools, dipping your hands into the verbal toolbox, you may feel clunky at first, yeah, but if you deliver these lines with confidence, it will work 7, 8, 9 times out of 10, okay? And the point is that when you've mastered with confidence those types of classic responses to that particular frame test, you will then discover a whole new paradise of potential, and actually flipping the script round and celebrating your age and your maturity and your the fact that you're a distinguished dude who's mastered his life and made it to the ripe old age of 38, 45 or 50 or whatever it is. So trust the process, because those lines are just keys that will open the door to a paradise of future potential. And I kid you not, the older I get, the more attractive and the younger are the girls that I am having success with. I don't mean youngsters, teenagers or even early 20s, but for me, 25, 30, 35, that's for me, that's a younger girl. So the next frame test is obviously an extremely common one. That's simply for a girl to say, I'm busy, I've got a train to catch, I'm going to a meeting. This is particularly an issue if you're in a busy city, particularly if you've been out to the city of London, for example. It's a very interesting place to meet girls because they're all high-flying careerists, smartly dressed, high heels, marching towards their next meeting or to catch a train in the rush hour. So the very best thing to do there is to say, yeah, absolutely, I'm crazy busy too. Goodness knows what I'm doing here in the street talking to you, but you look really nice. I just had to come up and say hello. So you could throw in your own "we're both busy people" type response. If you see that a girl is really busy, remember, you can always use the time constraint straight off the bat. So you say, look, sorry, you've stopped us, excuse me. I know this sounds a bit crazy, I just saw you crossing the traffic lights. I had to come over and just tell you, I think you look really nice. I'm just late for a meeting, but I had to come over and say hello. And, you may have picked up, and as you get more experienced, you pick up the vibe, you may have picked up that she's likely to tell you that she's busy. The other end of that type of interaction is where a girl has given you a couple of minutes, but she's like, sorry, I've really got to go. And the truth is, come on, most people can spare 5 minutes. I mean, most people living in chaotic, busy Western cities probably can spare you 20 minutes, frankly, if they're attracted enough. So where a girl does that sort of after a couple of minutes of the interaction, just simply say, look, absolutely, I'll let you go, but just one more thing. Now that is like one of these beautiful bridge lines, like the what I noticed about you is, because that buys you time. You don't need to know what it is you're going to say after that. Something will come. But just simply just say, I just wanted to say one more thing. Let's say, for example, you've observed something about her. I talk about this in an earlier vlog, the importance of observation. That hat, it makes you look like, one of the hunting and shooting lobby. I dare say your family own a country pile in Devon or something. It's just funky. Whatever it is, you bolt on the line. Just one more thing before you go. It's a socially calibrated thing to say. It's kind of communicating that you're busy, that she's busy. You understand that she's busy, but you just have to ask one more thing, and she will have time. If she's not really available or generally attracted, well, she'll move on. Fine, you let it go. Okay, the next one is I've got a boyfriend. Now, actually, the truth of it is that a girl who does tell you she's in a relationship during the course of an interaction in the street is probably not going to come out on a date, or it's going to be quite difficult. But, this isn't a pure science, this is an art, and as often as not, she might come out, so it's worth persevering beyond the boyfriend objection. When I first started, and this is one perfectly valid approach, I used to say, what sort of boyfriend is he? Is he like an accessory boyfriend? And I would then riff on the theme of girls and handbags. Like, is he a Primark or is he a Prada? Are you ready to trade up or trade down, or where are you? And how many handbags have you got? I bet your wardrobe is packed with them. And there's some truth in that, which will make the girl laugh, because girls do like to have men around them, and it is something like a little puppy dog or a handbag accessory. And I'm afraid to say, they're biologically wired to trade up from time to time. So that's one way. Now, the other way, and this is something that I did when I got more experience and more confidence in the street, is simply to say, I don't care, and then move on to another topic. I was really nervous about using that when I first started out a few years ago, and now I use it. I'm very blasé and confident about it. I don't care. Anyway, so what's up? You look a bit Latin to me. You really Polish? I like it. And she'll laugh. 9 times out of 10, I've used that line, the girl has laughed. Yeah. So it shows a little bit of masculine arrogance, but if it's done playfully, it'll make her laugh and it'll get you through that particular frame test. Now, of course, another classic one is, do you do this a lot? Do you always do this? Are you often out in the streets hitting on girls? That's a little bit tricky, because that sort of strikes at the heart of you, or particularly if you've just started, you're thinking, I'm not sure I should be out in the streets, and there's this huge social pressure, and people meet online. What am I doing running around the streets like a crazy person, like a jack rabbit? Boing. So you'll have all of this sort of stuff going on. And so it's quite a good frame test, isn't it? Girls, it's a bit of a kind of bitchy frame test. And don't be hard on yourself if it takes you a few goes before you get a handle on how to deal with that particular frame test. But I quite like a simple response of, I do approach girls in the street sometimes. Doesn't always work. Is it working now? And look her in the eye. And that will disarm her, and that's quite right that it should disarm her. If she's been cheeky enough to attack you, then she's, entitled to a bit of a playful response, a bit of a playful riposte, yeah. So I quite like that. And then you move on to another topic of conversation. On a similar theme, not quite as tricky as the previous one, is just simply, do you do this a lot, or how many girls have you approached so far in the streets today? That's quite an easy frame test to handle. It's playful. She's probably enjoying the conversation at that point. You say, yeah, well, I don't know, 475th, I think. Yeah, you're my 475th. It's been an exhausting day, I'll tell you. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. Make your observation, your assumption, and take the conversation forward. She'll probably laugh. It's kind of like, once you do this enough, once you use that tool out of the toolbox enough, it'll feel clunky at first, but eventually it'll be like, oh yeah, 38th. It's been quite a day. So, and then you'll move the conversation on. You know, what I noticed about you, what I really noticed about you was kind of got this Egyptian-looking necklace. It makes you look very exotic. I like it, and you change the topic of conversation. Now, the sixth and final silver bullet of dating wisdom, of daytime approach wisdom, is where a girl actually says, look, I've got to get to a meeting, I've got to catch a train, but you can walk with me. Now, that has come up for me on two occasions. Once, on the very first boot camp I did, and I was with a chap called John Matrix, and I basically followed a girl, I don't know, for what seemed like an eternity, all the way to the back door of a shop in the shopping centre where she met a friend, and they both looked at me like, why are you still here? And when I got back to John Matrix, his eyes rolled into the back of his head. So the advice generally, particularly if you are starting out, is if she's going to just say you can walk with me, it's a little bit of a frame test, and it's really best to let it go and have, you know, her go her merry way and stand your ground. Yeah. However, you know, as I say, these are just the general rules. There are always exceptions. If you've seen a girl that you're super attracted to and you really want to get to know better, and you feel it there, you know, that's the best place to come from. When you see a girl that you're attracted to, you feel it there, go over and strike up a conversation with you. You'll find that magnetic power somehow creates a magnetic attraction in her. It's very crazy. So there will be times, and I had a classic situation like this about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I could just tell that she was the sort of girl that I definitely wanted to get to know better. She had a train to catch. She was walking to Warsaw Central Station, and I said it was a good, fun, fizzy approach. She was laughing and enjoying it, and then she said, "Oh, I've got to go. I've got a train to catch." And I thought, no, I've generated some attraction here. I'm going to stick with it. And I said, fine, I'm going that way myself. I'll walk with you. And I just started walking. And that's the key. Be confident. It feels so kind of weird and unnatural when you first do it. It's like wading through treacle, but just stick with it. Walk confidently. Walk beside her to the final destination, and, you know, just follow the model in the usual way. And, you know, it can work wonders, because it shows, you know, it shows the kind of the beautiful way that these skills, once they're naturalized, create a confidence in you such that you can make situations that previously you'd have let go, you can actually spin them into positives. So the walk was great, and of course she wasn't late for a train. She was just a sort of a OCD type girl who had to get to the station half an hour before the train was due to leave, and it afforded us the opportunity to have an instant date. So we actually had a coffee in Starbucks, just the two of us. Really memorable day. I actually included this particular story in my book, Too Late Mate. So if you are super attracted, you don't want to let this fish go. Yeah, be confident about it, go with it. Oh yeah, I'm going that way too, I'll walk with you for a bit. And off you go, and you run the interaction the normal way. Try it. Okay, so there you have 6 little silver bullets of dating wisdom to help you deal with girls' brain tests in the street. Believe me, take it on faith that once you've got those down and you're regularly, routinely practicing them, they will start to be naturalized. You'll start to be congruent with the guy who used those sorts of lines. Yeah, you assume a virtue if you have it not, sort of thing. It works, it works, it works. And at the end of this series, I'll talk to you about natural approach, which is something I tried with really phenomenal success a year ago over a period of a couple of months. All right, guys, just a final word. Don't be daft about this. If a girl just clearly isn't interested, let it go. When you start, fine. Soldier on, try and close numbers, try and keep the conversation going, that's good practice. But the point comes when, be socially calibrated, don't be aggressive, and if a girl clearly isn't interested and, she showed you her engagement ring, or she's sorry, I've got to go, then just go. You know how when you're approached by street buskers or beggars, the good ones are very buoyant, they try to engage your conversation, and then if you're not interested, they just say, have a great day. And that creates a positive vibe in them, and it will create a positive vibe in you, and it helps to keep you buoyant, okay, in spirits as you are going about your day-to-day. In a later episode, I will talk about how to keep your spirits buoyant, how to keep up whilst you are approaching girls during the daytime. So yeah, don't be afraid to walk away and learn, as part of the skills in the toolbox, to be super polite and respectful. If they're clearly not interested, and say, look, you look great, have a good day, and then walk off. Okay guys, of course no vlog would be complete without a plug. There's quite a lot to plug about at the moment. You've got the ebook version of Too Late Mate, the 2nd edition that's just been released. It's available on Amazon. You've got Mysterious Duck Girl, which is, I've got a couple of fizzy stories full of sexual chemistry about how physicality and sexual chemistry on the street can work, and how amazingly well it can work in terms of taking the interaction forward in a romantic, physical way, even during the first approach in the street. So check out Mysterious Duck Girl, and I will be publishing in a week's time, in a week's time, a print version for those dudes who like a good old-fashioned book in their hands. I'll be releasing a print version on Amazon in a week's time too. So strap on the balls. It's not too cold, is it? Get out, surf the Christmas shopping spirit. If it is, get into those shopping centres and say hello to the female population of the world. Bye for now.